Hey there, I just wanted to welcome you to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your host, Coach KG, and I'm here with
his co-host and co-coach, Josh. And we're really excited for today's episode. We're trying to rejuvenate the podcast, give it some fresh blood. And we've decided we're going to kick it off with our primary questions. We're going to switch the format a little bit here. If you're on video, we got a new bike. We're doing some big things behind the scenes to make sure we're growing. But we're going to go ahead and jump into the first question before we do quotes and everything else. So the first question we have is, how do you stay dedicated to healthy eating and exercise? And this is from Michelle.
So this was a great question. Actually, I got asked in one of Coach Krista's Ask Me Anythings on Instagram, and I felt like I had to take it and us answer it here because there's so much to talk about, especially because everyone's goal is to just be fit and healthy for life, not just for a short amount of time. And one of the easiest things to think about here is just really allowing yourself to integrate it into your life. So where a lot of people struggle is they do think that it's just a never-ending battle of just like trying to fight that temptation and, fight the whole not being healthy versus being healthy side of things. And I really just encourage you to find ways, like starting off, to create the habit. They say habits take, some people say 21 days, some people say 30 days, some people say 66. Whatever that is, you will have to force yourself, especially if you're not someone that's particularly healthy and you do struggle with that. You'll have to really spend time figuring out, how can I do this for a certain amount of time? Obviously, our shred challenge that's taking place is something that's helping a lot of people because it's 30 days and it's going to help them create the habit. And then afterwards, they're going to crush it. And the goal is to do something for a certain amount of time to the point where things just become a part of your lifestyle. You don't really think about it. Your subconscious just acting without any thought. And that's where most people get to a point where it's just a natural instinct. Now, what I will say about this is there will still always be so many temptations, even 12 plus years in. People think, and they'll say it to us, man, it must be so easy for you. Like, you must always feel like working out or going for that cardio event or eating healthy. And there will always be those tough times. And I think the easiest solution here is just spend time creating that habit, force yourself, put into a calendar, meet up with people, and then just allow yourself to create it into a lifestyle, turn it into a lifestyle, and you'll be set. I know it sounds easier than it actually may feel for those of you who are trying to, but that's my biggest tip for every single person.
What I really recommend is not looking for short-term solutions for long-term problems. So you can take this approach to any capacity of being fit and healthy. And I think at its core, it's really important to remember why you're doing that. So for longevity, for health, for performance, for ability to stay young, whatever your goal is, even if your goal is truthfully just to look good and the beach each summer in a bikini, if that really inspires you and that lights a fire under you all year, I think it's always good to remember that, because when you have a clear vision, it's a lot easier to put in the work to achieve that vision. Whereas when you have really loose, temporary, small, short goals, it's very hard to be convicted to actually do the necessary work to stay fit only outside of that season of fitness. Because if you're like, in 2 weeks, I'm going to look good for a vacation, you'll look good. You go off the deep end on the vacation and you'll be back to ground zero. And that is not the way to do it. So today I actually posted a story about how, for me, I still eat a lot of my favorite foods. So like pizza, pancakes, burgers, all these things that inherently you think, oh my gosh, this is horrible for you. What is he doing? What's going on? People always say to me, oh, you don't eat that stuff. And I'm like, I do eat that stuff. And of course, we have the 80-20 rule where you can eat 20% less healthy foods if you are eating 80% good, hearty foods. But once again, if you want to be able to do things long term, you need staples that work. So for me, I have my Greek yogurt breakfast, which I've spoken of a million times. And I have a better substitution to pancakes and full calorie syrup, and that is Kodiak cakes, which is a brand, but they're essentially just whole wheat flapjacks that actually have a lot more fiber. They're whole grains and they actually contain more protein. And then outside of that, sometimes I'll mix in some protein powder and then I'll use sugar-free syrup. And I'm able to have a big serving of them. I'm able to enjoy them just the same. And you adapt. I think a good analogy to this is if you're someone who had coffee with sugar previously and you cut it out, you'll kind of learn to hate that sugar as you filter out of it. Just the same if you're someone who went from full sugar soda to the diet alternatives. You adapt and get used to it. And I think that's where you have to say, like, what can I do to actually still enjoy the things I love, like pancakes, or finding healthier alternatives to pizza. Like I'll do tortilla pizzas at home with like a high protein cheese was another example I made. For burgers, I'll do like a turkey burger when I'm in a pinch. And these are just good options I have in my way. And of course, I still aim to have the heartiest, best food I can. But of course, you don't want to take away everything you love, because it's easy to do that for 6 weeks, maybe to do that for 6 months, but past that, you're going to fall off and you're going to fail. So don't just rely on these short-term solutions of, I'm going to cut out everything I love, I'm going to just eat asparagus and chicken. It's not going to be realistic. You're going to fall off and you're not going to want to make that part of your life. Whereas for me, even like, I prefer these healthier alternatives now because they're less caloric, they feel better, I digest them better, they give me more energy, and I'm able to have bigger portions of them. So it's a really good solution where you can have your cake and you can literally eat it too. So the macro hacks are really helpful to me. Like even Quest chips, if I'm really feeling munchy, is a great option. And once again, you can go for more quote unquote whole sources. Like you could have a butter-free popcorn and adapt into that, and that's like no calories, really dense in fiber. But you can see how there's meaningful solutions. And the same with the gym. If you're doing a workout regimen or routine that is absolutely unsustainable to you in your schedule, I mean, that's fine for a period of time, but you got to find what's going to work, what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. Some of my clients will come in, they'll achieve their goals, and they'll say, hey, I don't really want to go 5 times anymore. And it's like, okay, we can create a realistic vision for that. And where there's push, there's pull. Obviously, less give, you'll get less get. And that is sometimes where it can be a little bit tough, but that's where when you have a goal and you're very clear on what it is, you can associate the right amount of action to meet that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I was saying that a lot of times you're subconscious and you just operate like without thinking, but there still are, and I did want to spend time stressing this, like a lot of times where you have to still just kind of fight yourself, right? Like sometimes there's that part of me that's just like, no, just skip this, or go the unhealthy route, and you still do have to think a lot about that, especially depending on who you are, where you come from, like your circle. Like that's another thing, is the last thing I'll say here is you're usually the average of the 5 people you hang around with, and I find that those who really want to create a lifestyle out of being fit and healthy, you just have to find those people that can encourage you. Like if your entire circle is just all about going to the bar each night and drinking and dinners, like that's probably what you're going to do. They might criticize you for working out, for skipping a get together. Like it's just usually not going to help you with that. Whereas if you're finding people at the gym and you start to do a class with someone, maybe a fitness class, or you join a league, like it's a lot easier to just create that lifestyle because those people around you are on your side and they're actually going to encourage you versus discourage you. So that's the last thing I wanted to say there, and I thought that was quite powerful.
Yeah, you can't become an eagle hanging around with turkeys. Something I've really had on my mind lately, as funny as it is. But even past that, like another tip, even similar to Kyle's point of establishing habits make things a whole lot easier. And I've said before too, when you see results, you get addicted. When you start to say, wow, I have so much energy, I just feel amazing, I'm sleeping better, I have all this energy throughout the day because I'm eating better, I have no digestive issues, I'm not bloating, I feel fantastic in my workouts, I'm really lean and strong, and I'm actually full and satisfied with my food each day. Like once you see that, it makes it a lot more tempting to keep it going. And that really just goes back to my point of doing it in a healthy and sustainable way. And that's how I've really put my coaching around it. My goal is, of course, get the clients the best results, but to do it in a way that's sustainable and realistic to your schedule. Because when you go outside of that, that's when it just becomes bad. Because if I'm navigating it that way, where I go to the gym a reasonable amount of time for me, I'm eating really good food, I feel fantastic, I feel energized, I feel full. Meanwhile, you're over there dying, having your asparagus and chicken, so bored out of your mind, struggling to shovel it in your mouth, doing 2 hours of cardio a day. Like you're just breaking yourself down. You're just going to make yourself hate the goal you're working towards. And that is where when you can come to love the journey. Like I love finding these fun alternatives, I love finding healthy meals I really truly love. I love having places I eat out that are really healthy, they make me feel great, they check all those boxes. I love seeing the effects of it, of, like I said, me sleeping better, me moving better, me looking better, me performing better, just all these great things. And I just think it's a constant reminder to say, hey, keep going, keep getting better, and you can come to love that process more and more. So that was our primary question. We decided we're going to kick it off by just jumping into one question, but don't worry, we're not getting rid of all the other fun components that makes Motivation Monday Motivation Monday. Like I said, we really do just want to refresh it, and I think it's a really fun way to make sure we're just getting some great value, and then we're going to get into some of the things that excite us. And of course, one of those things are quotes. And I have a quote that really just hit me. I was listening to a podcast with Dr. Peter Attia. He wrote that book called Outlive, the longevity book that I've mentioned on this podcast a few times. And he had a quote that just really hit me like a brick. So he said, people don't care until they're in pain. And I was like, wow, I've never, like, it really hit me. People don't care until they're in pain. Perfect example. Teeth. You don't care, you brush your teeth, whatever. You don't think twice about it. The second you have cavities, you see the dentist or whatever it is, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to make this such a priority. But oftentimes it's too late. If you go in there and they say you need a root canal, you can brush your teeth, that tooth until you're black and blue, but you're still going to need that root canal. And I think it's really scary too, because it's so easy to put off tomorrow's pain for today's pleasure, but it can come at such an expense. If you end up with diabetes, if you end up with horrible arthritis, like, the cost of inaction, Kyle speaks about this a lot, is so great. And it really is hard to see some people just completely throw this aside, not take it serious until it's too late. And I've mentioned before on this podcast the cycle of when you're young, you have time, health, but you have no money. When you're in your 20s, you have no money, and you have no time, but you have a little bit of money and a little bit of health. Then as you get older, you have a lot of money, and you have ideally if you're working, but you don't have much health, and then you have a lot of time. Like, so once again, people work so hard trying to get money, sacrificing their health. And then later in life, they'll spend all their money trying to regain their health when it's too late. And it's like, you want these things to work hand in hand. So don't wait until you're in pain. You need to get in front of your health and your happiness. Like, it's so sad seeing these things pop up. And then obviously it's a shocker. It kicks people in gear. But oftentimes it can be too late. And like, your health, you're carrying around one body. It's with you every day. It's how you feel. It's how you interact with life. Like, you don't want to be living a life full of being in pain, not being happy with where you are, knowing you could do more, having trouble get out of bed, not being bloated all the time. Like, it is sad when I think you can live an incredibly healthy and fit life. And I know as someone listening to this podcast, you're already taking action, and I want to commend you for that. But it really isn't hard to live a healthy and fit life. Like, obviously you can scale it, and being super fit's a whole different criteria, but the average person could really look quite well and live quite healthy with a very moderate amount of energy and effort. And even a lot of my coaching clients, I think that's what surprised them the most. They're like, I'm amazed how easy this actually is. I was just doing it the wrong way. And like, once again, I just really take this quote into mind. People don't care until they're in pain. It's immensely sad, but like, start caring. And even in his book, he talks, one of his biggest factors is knowing your family factors. So if everyone in your family has diabetes, that's something you want to start controlling for and being aware of. If everyone has really bad arthritis, it's like, how can you work against these things? I have a lot of like dementia and Alzheimer's in my family. So obviously brain health, brain optimization, these are things worth thinking of. And even seeing the new studies on diet and the correlation to this, alcohol and the correlation to this, like, these are things you need to be mindful of. And it's so easy to have an attitude of, I'll deal with it then. But start thinking about the future. You put yourself in a good position. Don't leave yourself in a position of pain.
It's so important to think about, and I actually think about this more than I just think about it a lot, and I'm sure every single person here listening can relate to it from a close friend, maybe not a close friend, but a family member especially. I'm willing to bet you there's someone who just you saw them go through something that you wouldn't exactly want to go through, and I think you can take it one of two ways. Like, even myself, I've kind of had to think about that stuff a lot, especially with seeing my family, and I was like, I can either go down this route and, you know, just not be the healthiest version of myself, like consider that's what was actually considered normal, or I can be an example and I can set my own criteria and just absolutely crush it and be my own example and just become the best version of myself. And I think a lot of times people will use that as an excuse, like, oh, well, my parents drank a ton, or that's how I was raised. And it's so easy to go down that route, whereas you can literally do whatever it is that you want to. And I can firsthand just say that that's something that I'm always focused on. And even just thinking of the long-term version, like seeing someone at 70 not be their best, I'm thinking, how can I be my best at 70? Seeing someone at 50, like, how can I become the best version of myself for like every single year going forward? And super motivating. Honestly, I'm very passionate about that. Maybe I'll talk about it more in the future. But
even one thing to add on, like that, going back to what we were saying before, it's important you redefine your conception of normal. Like, perhaps everyone in your family is immensely overweight and they're boogieing around on scooters, and it's just like the path you see yourself going to. Like, don't just accept that as, oh, this is normal because this is what everyone in my family does. Everyone in my family gets hammered on the weekends, so it's what I have to do. Everyone in my friend group is overweight, so I don't want to be that one person that's not. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we do these things subconsciously, and that was my point too about you can't be an eagle hanging around with turkeys. Like, you got to redefine what your normal is, and we've even mentioned before just how like the conception of normal is getting so weak now. Like, the minimum expectation for activity is so low. Like, ideally the world starts to push you towards like wake up late, smash the snooze button, stop at McDonald's on your drive to work, sit down, grind for 10 hours, come home, watch Netflix, rinse, repeat. And like, activity is just such an afterthought. And like, you need to really work against these things. And as you do more and see you're capable of doing more, it's really impressive. And it's an amazing feeling when you realize, wow, I can operate at this higher level. I can do more than I thought. I can be the example to my friends, and like, you can pull them out of their misery by taking that action yourself. So that was one more point I definitely had to make.
I had to add on because the other day I was waiting for the Zamboni driver to come off the ice. I was playing in a men's league hockey game, and I just sat there for like a few minutes, and I was thinking, man, I can't believe this was like my ambition. Like, this is what I wanted to do. Josh mentioned it a few weeks ago, I think, but I was like, it's crazy because you only know so much, like, especially growing up and who you're around. And I was like, I can't believe that this was my biggest goal until I realized, like, hanging out with Josh, like, I'm very grateful for that because he started to just instill like all these different resources and like thought processes in my brain. You know, hey, try this audiobook. Hey, you got to listen to this. Hey, here's what we're going to do. And it just got me thinking, because I'm like, you only know so much, obviously, with the people you hang around, but also just, you know, you're just your mindset, right? And when you actually just like switch it, it's crazy, because I never thought 12 years ago, like when I was sitting there thinking that that would be my life, that I'd be here talking to all of you awesome people, just helping 4,000 people around the world, doing all this great stuff. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. And it was just a random thought there that I had, because you can definitely change, like, whatever situation you're in, you can change it. And I love my clients when they say like, hey, like, here's the path I'm going down. Like, I want to be a different person. Like, some of them switch their careers. Some of them they lose 50 plus pounds. Like Tayler, that we're going to shout out today. She's 90 pounds down. Anyways, I thought that was great. And my quote here for today is, the wolf that is on the hill is never as hungry as the wolf that is climbing the hill. And so you got to get hungry and stay hungry. So I just thought this was great, because I do believe pressure makes a diamond. So sometimes we get too complacent. Even myself, I operate under pressure way better. And it's something to think about. Like the wolf that has to climb, the wolf that has to hustle, you know, is going to put in way more work than the wolf that's already made it. I know it's a random example with wolves, but you can relate this to anything, you know, sports. Let's say a hockey team who's down and they're fighting to stay in the series. Like, they're going to operate at a different level. For those who have more, just bigger ambitions, like, that's why we talk about bigger goal setting, because someone who has 5 pounds to lose because they're kind of a little bit too scared to set a bigger goal, versus someone who says, I want to change my life and like lose 50 pounds and have more energy for my kids, like, they're going to operate at different levels. And so that's why I just really think that when you're setting goals, when you're thinking of how can I just get more fire under my butt, like, you got to just think bigger. And I think it's so important. So the wolf that is on the hill is never as hungry as the wolf that is climbing the hill. You got to get hungry and stay hungry.
Awesome. And now we're going to jump into what has us excited or intrigued. So my one good thought is we're back to uploading on our YouTube. So we upload every Monday and Wednesday. We just uploaded a couple of videos for reference. Like, we're doing a lot of technique related stuff, which we can't really provide on this podcast. So I definitely think the YouTube and this podcast go quite nicely hand in hand, because I can teach you how to shoulder press with dumbbells properly for more development and less pain on YouTube. It's very hard to convey over a podcast. So definitely be sure to check us out on YouTube there. But really just making a point similar to this podcast, I think the podcast really blew up when we made a decision that we were just going to get it done no matter what. We used to make excuses. Oh, it's too hot. We used to film in his car. We're like, this is dumb. We can't do this. And we'd skip a podcast episode, or I don't feel too great today. Whatever. We're going to skip an episode. And then one day we're like, this is dumb. We're making excuses. We need to go every Monday and Wednesday. We will get an upload up no matter what. And we have stuck to that. I couldn't even tell you the last time we missed. It's been years and years. And because of that, by doing that consistent compounded action, it's amazing to see what that has grown into. And then even we had to call ourselves out a bit because with YouTube, we got in this mindset of perfectionism, which we've spoken to before, of like it needs to be the highest quality, craziest things with like flashing lights and air horns and all these crazy things, and really just making it so, so perfect. And don't get me wrong, we're still striving to make everything really good. And there are obstacles every single time we film. Like there is never a time where it's just super easy to film. There's always something going on in the gym, some construction, someone's banging something, someone's playing basketball, and like obviously it's not a film studio, so these are the things we need to navigate. But my case in point is when you set those goals higher and you just say, I'm gonna absolutely, like, they're non-negotiable goals. So for now, every Monday and Wednesday an episode will be out, and it's even cool seeing the effects of that. It's cool seeing that pick up steam again, and even I can think of how much impact we've missed out on over the last few years by being inconsistent with that and letting perfectionism get in the way. And I've spoken about this in the concept of fitness, where I am stronger. I go to the gym consistently. I eat good consistently. I log my food consistently, and I see the benefits because of it. And like that is my secret. People come to me all the time. What's your secret? What are you doing different? Someone's asking Kyle today at the gym what I had for breakfast to be able to lift the weight so well. And he comes up, he's like, Greek yogurt's your secret. And I'm like, not really, man. But case in point, like you can't beat that consistency. And if perfectionism is getting in your way of making an effort to eat healthier because you're not sure if you're doing it exactly right, or if your protein macro isn't exactly right, or if your form is 150%, like you sometimes got to take that imperfect action and aim to get better and scale to get better. And with YouTube, that's what we've been doing. The first few videos, we navigate it. We're like, hey, let's upgrade. Let's get a new camera. We found a new gym to film in, so that's better. And like you'll naturally improve and grow on that. But just by improving your output and doing more things and challenging yourself, it's really cool to see too how you can normalize that. And now I would feel so confused to not get this podcast episode up. I think you would be shocked if you didn't see we upload. And I think even for us, showing we'll be consistent for you will help be an example of you being consistent for yourselves. So that was one thing I had on my mind.
I'm really passionate about that because I feel like that recipe of like non-negotiables is what really would change the game for most people who do struggle on their fitness journey. I know a lot of people are crushing it, by the way. When I talk about someone that's struggling, I think it's because, you know, I have so many interactions with someone at the gym who's saying, hey, what are you guys doing? You know, I see your posts, I see your transformations. Like a lot of people come to us that are struggling, right? It's usually not the people who are like, hey, I'm crushing it. Although usually they do after, you know, signing up with us and they take our tips and they apply it, they are crushing it. But I do see a lot of people that are just really missing that. It's just, it's not a non-negotiable. And I think that's so important. And that's what really has changed the game for us with what we do and how we show up for our, you know, our media, but also for our clients. But I think that's where, for those people who are struggling with the gym, with the meal prep, with the grocery stuff, with the, all that, like it makes such a big difference. And I just had a small thought here, nothing crazy. I listened and I heard Chris Williamson, he was saying to Tim Ferriss, he just said, 90% of problems can be fixed by a good night's sleep, a glass of water, a talk with a friend, or a hard training session. So I just thought that was cool because I feel like all four of those things like have so many benefits. Obviously, a great night's sleep can fix a lot of problems. A glass of water, obviously doesn't seem as powerful, but I mean, can definitely help with just feeling better. And then a talk with a friend or an intense training session. So just something to think of. I know a lot of times people rely on other things. Maybe once again, I bring up drinks a lot because I know that's sometimes a solution for some people to rely on, or just things that may not be as beneficial, whereas these four things are super helpful and they can fix some things that maybe we're potentially dealing with. So that's my last thought that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I even shared something similar on our Instagram yesterday about just 5 ways to have a good day, and it was very much along those lines. It was like, have a great workout, get some sunlight, be grateful and present, eat some great food, and have a great sleep. Something along those lines. And like, when you boil it down to it, it can really be that simple to really having a great day and really focusing on those small quality pleasures. But that's a great segue, I think, into where we're at in our journey. I know Kyle has some exciting notes here. You just finished like a little challenge against a buddy of his, so I know he's pumped to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, so just about 9 pounds down in the 1 month challenge. I know I mentioned it a little bit over the last few podcasts, and it was great. It really pushed us. Even today, I was looking in the mirror after my workout, and I was like, man, those 8 to 9 pounds were just like, that was what I needed. And, you know, I'll be honest, like I was kind of treading, like I was saying yes to a lot of things and not in a bad position, but not in a position where I was like thriving and like really making those hard decisions, I guess you could say. And that challenge is really rejuvenated. And I feel like I'm just on a really, really good path. Once again, not struggling, but not crushing it like usual, if that makes sense. We all have those moments, and that challenge saved a lot. So super excited about that. We have started our summer shred literally the day I think I mentioned or sent in an email, or I'll say things to clients or whatever. I'm like, did I say it on a podcast? But literally ended the challenge May 6th with my friend, and then our summer shred with all of our amazing clients started the exact same day. So there was no breaks, just right to it, another 30 days. And obviously that's going super well. We're just doing a lot of different things. So activity every day, no alcohol, none of these things that are, not going to help us. And just really focused on a lot of great habits and habit building and sustainability, like Josh was saying before. And that's really how you absolutely crush it. So aside from my success, I'm really happy to see everyone in our program 1 week in, showing up and just really building these great habits. And I couldn't be more proud of them as well.
Yeah, and even going off of that, we're obviously in the challenge. So that's kind of where my focus is. So I'm just super pumped up for that. I'm just being dialed in, eating really well, training really hard, just loving life, trying to find a lot of different ways too to just level up the business, as I said, find some impact, and really just fill some holes in the game that we know we can improve on. Really been looking into just podcasting and how to make this the best possible podcast possible, obviously keeping the core of what makes it so amazing, but growing with that is going to be awesome. We just want to thank you for being a listener as always. Really does mean a lot, especially as we are nearing episode 600, which is pretty wild. So I'm definitely pumped for that. We're going to do something big for that for sure too. But we're going to go ahead and jump into our client shout out. Who do we got this week?
So this week, and funny backstory, a couple weeks ago, before I go into this here, one of Josh's past clients, Alex, I'll post it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. He came out, he worked with Josh like 7 or 8 years ago, and he had nothing but great things to say. And it's funny because a lot of businesses, I feel like these days with social media, like people will come from a position of like, hey, you'll never guess what happened, and they'll just like say something bad. Whereas like we had people just coming out of the blue like saying, hey, can I write you a testimonial? I know it's been a while. I thought that was really cool. It made me really happy, and us here at Colossus. So Alex had some great things to say. And then Ken, he messaged us, one of Josh's past clients as well, saying, hey, it's been 7 years and everything that you've taught me is stuck. And I thought that was really, really cool to get those messages from people from like the very beginning of what, it's been a long time. So similar, and this is where I started thinking about it, was Tayler. She just posted her transformation. And once again, we didn't ask for anything. Like, she was just like, hey, here's a part of my process and I just want to share it. And she had said, I'm officially 90 pounds down overall. Heaviest body weight 260, current body weight 169.2, overall inches lost 56 inches. Lost a ton of fat, tons of muscle gained, no surgery, no weight loss pills, no quick fixes, just hard work and consistency. I wouldn't be here without my coach Armando and Colossus Fit, who held me accountable. The journey doesn't end here. There's still a lot of work to do, but I couldn't be more proud of myself right now. So I love these ones. 90 pounds is an incredible journey, and she's still with us, just thriving, obviously crushing the challenge. And we're just super proud here. We just wanted to highlight this is because people are at different parts of their journey. And obviously when we shout someone out from like a 90-day standpoint, we also want to document the entire process, because the goal is to get someone to lose weight and keep it off. And I see so many people saying, hey, I lost weight and I'm in a position where I've put more back on than when I started, because they were doing just unattainable things. Like, it was just too restrictive. And that's why if you're looking to get to the next level, you're looking to lose at least 20 pounds of fat, just send us a message with the keyword fat loss. We will take on, I'd say 3 to 4 more people this week to be able to help you out one-on-one. And our Instagram is Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. And we can't wait to help some of you people make an amazing, meaningful, lifelong transformation.
Yeah, don't wait till you're in pain. Don't wait till none of your clothes fit you. You're miserable and you feel like absolutely just overwhelmed. Like, getting ahead of problems is one of the best things you can do, and building yourself up to be able to handle them more is just so important. So definitely be sure to send us that message. Let us do the hard work for you and get you a body and just general fitness and health level you're proud of. But now for our second question, we have, how do you navigate the gym when all the machines are taken?
Really good question. It's Josh is the king at this. I just kind of follow him.
I look around, honestly. I'm like a hawk. I always try to be pretty aware, because it's even today, I wanted a certain machine. I'm like, oh, like you can tell some people will rest like 6 minutes. We waited 6 minutes and then the girl did like 3 reps. I'm like, okay, this isn't happening. So you got to find adequate substitutions. And I think this is where having more workout knowledge is beneficial. But a lot of times, even I guess taking this question a little bit back, is the question of how important is workout order. I get asked this a lot, and the truth is it's quite important, also could be not important. Does it really matter if you do like your dumbbell curl before your dumbbell hammer curl? No, those are pretty interchangeable. Does it matter if I do my dumbbell curl before I do my chin-ups? Absolutely. Like it's going to take a lot more out of me for my barbell rows, whatever it be. So general rule of thumb is keep the compounds first. The more isolation-based movements you can play around a little bit with in terms of when you need to do them. And I find looking in advance, kind of scoping up the gym, asking how many sets people have left, being ready to kind of scoop in there as soon as it's done, especially if you're in a busy gym, are the key ways to navigate this. And then to understand too which movements can be properly switched out. So I really try to do that, try to make sure I'm on time and things are moving and going well in the gym. I know some gyms can just be absolutely ridiculous, and as much as I hate to say it, sometimes you do need to wait, especially for that first movement. Oftentimes for rack, like I'm not going to go do other things first. I'll start my warm up in that area, and you can always just use that as an opportunity to warm up warm up longer. But in general, those compounds, you want to keep them first. So your bench, squat, deadlift, barbell row, OHPs, those multi-muscle heavy movements generally done with a barbell, you are going to want to really prioritize early on. And doing really technical, intense movements when you're fresh is a lot better than doing them when you're heavily fatigued, because you won't be able to push yourself as much. And that is why you want to trail into those isolationist movements later, because I don't really need to be too dialed in to do like a lateral raise or a bicep curl or a tricep extension. Like there's way less out of it than something that is more technical than like a bench press and OHP, things along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, especially for those compounds, I'll take that time and be like, hey, you know what? I kind of need a bit more mobility, then that's fine. But when it comes down to like even someone the other day, he said, hey, I'll be over here. Like, just let me know. I'm going to use the hack squat after you guys. Like totally cool. Like to have those conversations. I know last week we were talking about, is it okay to ask someone how many sets they have left, all that stuff. I do feel like it's a very important part of just navigating is being able to ask those questions and, you know, quickly ask and then move on and figure it out from there. But yeah, even quite a few of my clients will ask me for different things. Like if you go at busy time and the cables are just always taken, you know, sometimes we might have to figure something out there. It's also okay to ask if someone's doing the same movement. Like when someone, and it's not like if there's too many of us, it's hard to get people to work in. But if someone's doing the same thing and someone's just going to be resting anyways, like I totally believe that if, you know, it's not too much hassle to take off 7 plates from the leg press and then put it back on. Like that's a totally normal thing to just do some chest flies both at the same time, because you can just adjust it. It's no hassle, like no worries at all. Like that's totally okay. And I'd say most people are totally cool with that, especially if you ask it in a respectful way. But I do feel like a lot of times it's not really the order I find that people have too many issues with. Actually, that is pretty common, but it's also the substitutions. Like if the cables are taken on a cable chest fly, like some people will then switch it for a random chest press machine. And like those are two very different movements, whereas a dumbbell chest fly would be a great substitution. Now, the one thing I will say is I think we've done a really good job of not consistently substituting, because when you allow yourself like every single time it's like, oh, something's taken, and you don't even think about it or don't even like try to go that extra mile to like get them done, and every time it's a substitution, it's hard because you're then just doing a bunch of random movements. Like that row variation you usually do is not going to be the same. It's just going to be completely different. So I think although it may not seem like a big deal, I think sometimes people don't really think of like just what that can do. And that's why that was my answer for that question.
Yeah, that's a really good answer, especially because it's real easy for me to be like, oh, my 30-pound dumbbells aren't available, so I can't do lunges. I'm going to go do the adductor machine instead. Not an adequate substitute, not only because they're different movements, but because of the intensity levels. It's real easy to make excuses to avoid doing the hard thing, to do something convenient and easy, and you're going to absolutely nuke the quality of your workout by doing this. And that is why you want to keep that structure. You want the substitute to be of equal intensity or difficulty, because you can saturate your workouts a lot by just really making excuse for everything. Oh, too bad, all the squat racks are taken, so I'm going to go do quad extensions. Like it's not a substitute mirror, and you're really going to water down your workouts by doing that. So that was a really great add-on there. Then for the third and final question for today is, what is your favorite part about being a coach? So I'll go ahead and jump into this, but I like taking people that are struggling, similar to what a doctor would do, and helping them find a solution, have them find something that works. I've had things and challenges in my life where I'm like, I don't understand this, so hard. You pay someone, they come, they help you with it, they relieve that problem. You're like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. Why didn't I do this earlier? And that is kind of what I tried to build the coaching around, is to really have it be a sustainable fix where I'm not just helping people where they're being coached by me, similar to Kyle's example with my client Alex, but to teach them a framework of, here's how you can do this for the rest of your life. You can still eat a ton of good food. You can learn to love the gym. You can have balance. You can go out. You can do things, and you're still going to see success. And early coaching, I think, was the absolute antithesis of that, because it was, here's how you get ready for a show. You're going to do 2 hours of cardio a day. Chicken, broccoli, like I said, you can't eat carrots because they're too high in carbs. Like, just ridiculous notions. And it was so opposite of just how to live a fit, healthy, and happy life. And like, having someone on your side to help optimize that for you in your life will just pay so many dividends. And I love building out the systems around that and seeing the transformations we've made, seeing the impact we've made, seeing people really unlock their struggles to see results in their journey.
Yeah, and working off of that before, like I had mentioned, I do feel like a lot of people are struggling. And, what's cool is, even Josh was saying he posted some of the hacks that he still has, whether that's the homemade pizza stuff. And the client that we shouted out today, Tayler, she responded to that saying, like, yeah, some people think I've cut out absolutely everything, and like, I'm still enjoying, like, my calories are high right now, I'm in a good spot, like, still consuming all these fun foods. And I think the point is, when someone can just still live like an amazing life while losing the weight, while feeling better, fitting better in their clothes, feeling more confident, like in their bikini and whatever it is that they're wearing, like, that's just such a fulfilling feeling. And us here, Josh and myself and our entire team, like, nothing makes us happier than those messages and those people who just were struggling so much, whose energy was down, their overall confidence was down, and to see the look on, not even like when they say thanks, like, that is always a great feeling when they can send us those messages, but also just seeing like the different perspective of someone like wearing something different, or someone sending a video check-in and saying, like, you'll never guess what happened, and tell us a story about something where they were keeping up with their kids more. Like, for us, it's just really about seeing those positive changes and how it can affect their lives in so many different ways. Like, that's what we love. And of course, there's some big wins and there's some smaller wins and there's some medium size, but like, the truth is, every single win is just like so fulfilling. And yeah, I mean, if you're making it to the end of this video, you're clearly serious about your journey, you like what we're all about, don't hesitate to send us that message, because I guarantee you, we will change your life. And I see a lot of people who I see kind of trying, and I'm like, man, if only they come in here and see what this is all about, the systems we use, the customized workouts, the accountability, like, they'll be in such a better spot. And we do have a few available opportunities, so just send us a message with the keyword fat loss, and we will always be here for you. And yeah, just that's one of my favorite parts about being a coach.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'd love to be your coach, and if you made it to this end and you supported us, once again, we want to say thank you. And I just want to ask for your help right now. If you haven't left a review, it really does help juice us in the algorithm, so we get out to more people, so we can keep investing in this content. Like I said, we're really trying to lead by making this the best it can be, really finding the best questions, getting the best audio, the best scenery, the best setup, shorts, different opportunities to consume this content. So if you can leave a review, it'll help us get out to more people, whether that's on iTunes or Spotify. That would be immensely appreciated. And I know it's easy to think, other people will do it, I'm not going to do this. But if you could do that one small thing for me, it would mean the world, especially as we end this episode here. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to those of you that do that and take me up on that. Thank you for helping us grow, and we got some amazing content planned. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.